Hey, welcome back to another Moralis video. My name is Bharat, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how you can build your own centralized exchange wallet activity tracker that tracks wallet addresses that belong to exchanges in real time and gives you alerts whenever there is any whale activity going on. So let's get started. So just to give you a quick overview about Moralis before we get started, Moralis is the crypto data platform providing you with SDKs and APIs for building Web3 applications, RPC APIs, wallet APIs, NFT APIs, etc. And in this particular video, we're going to go over the Streams API and how you could basically leverage our Streams API and the Entity API in order to fetch any addresses that belong to a given entity and essentially use streams in order to set up a real-time tracker to get notified or to get alerts whenever there is some specific activity going on. So let's get started. So to get started, you've just got to go into login and you'll then be able to see your portal. So this basically gives you a complete overview on the compute units, the API keys, the tutorials, docs, etc. So you can explore the platform and then head to documentation, which is available at docs.moralis.io. So once you have head to docs.moralis.io, you'll basically see this page. And in this video, we're going to focus on how you could actually track any centralized exchange wallets. Particularly, let's take Binance for this tutorial, and how you could leverage Streams API in order to receive real-time webhook notifications whenever there is basically some whale activity going on that exchange. So the first thing to do is let's basically understand the entity API, which is present in Moralis. So head to Web3 Data API and then head to the entity API section. Here you can basically see what are all the entity APIs which are present. The first one is basically for searching entities. So entities basically are anything that have a value to it. Like let's say that Binance is an entity, Coinbase is an entity, Vitalik's address is an entity. So basically using search entity endpoint, you'll be able to search for that particular entity and get all the details related to that entity. Then there is an API called get entity categories. So every entity can be grouped into certain categories, and these categories could be centralized exchanges, DeFi protocols, etc. So if you're building an application that leverages, let's say, uh, centralized exchange wallet tracking, you can just call the get entity by category or get entity by ID API, and you can get all the entities which are associated to a particular category. So centralized exchange would actually return you BingX, it would return you Coinbase, it would return you Binance, etc. So all those addresses are basically received. And you have the get entities by category, which is basically present, and that returns you all the entities within a given category. And to get the detailed information about a specific entity, let's say for Binance, you want to receive all the wallet addresses, you'll basically make use of the get entity category and it'll give you all the wallet addresses. And if Binance has any labels associated to the wallet address, like Binance 18, etc., you'll receive all of that in this particular API. So to get started, what we can do is let's try out the get entity categories API. And as you can see over here, this is the API that is the get entity categories, and you have the code snippets available in different languages. So now to try this out, what we're going to do is you're going to go to Moralis and then obtain your API key, copy the key, then let's paste it back onto our API key here, copy the curl command. Let me open my terminal. Let me just add the flag. Yep. So you can basically see here we've gotten all the entity categories here. So you have categories like borrowing, which has the ID borrowing, and this doesn't have any entities. Then bridge, you have 9 entities. Centralized exchange, you have 53 entities. And this list is constantly updating. We keep on adding all the latest entities that we find or values as well. So you basically can see centralized lending, cross-chain interoperability, DAOs, decentralized exchanges, lending, DeFi, derivatives, everything. So you have a lot of entities which are present, and now we have gotten like all the entity categories. So for this tutorial, we're interested in this one, centralized exchange, because we're going to build a centralized exchange wallet activity tracker. And you can see the ID for this is centralized exchange. So the next one we're going to focus on is get entities by category. And what we're going to do is we have the category right here. And you can see here that it says centralized exchange. So when we run this, you can basically see the response right here. It shows us all of the centralized exchanges which are present or supported by the API. So if you want to again view this on terminal, you can just come back here and let me just minimize all of this. Yep. So you have this, and you can basically put this, and you can basically see all of the entities which are present for centralized exchange. So within centralized exchange, like we saw, we have 53 entities, and it shows us all of the popular exchanges: crypto.com, CoinHacko, Coinbase, Prime, Coinbase, everything. And you get all of the addresses. Along with that, you also get the logo of that. So if you're building like a application that leverages this, you have the logo directly present in the form of an image. You have the website, you have the Twitter, you have the type, and you also get the total addresses associated to this entity. So that's how you can get all the entity categories. Now coming to the next API, which is get entity by ID. This lets you get detailed information about a specific entity. And if you come back to our response, you can basically see we have all these APIs. So if we take any given API, let's say Kraken, you can get the ID from this, and you can just paste the entity ID here, and you'll be able to see the response. So for each of the response, you can get what are all the addresses which are present for Kraken and what chain as well this address is operating on. So you can see this Kraken hot wallet is on Ethereum mainnet, and you can basically see all of the addresses which are present as well directly available to you with this API call. So in this API, what we're going to do is we're going to leverage get entity by ID API in order to fetch all the Binance wallet addresses. So let's just call this again with Binance. And now you get all of the addresses. So you can get the Binance withdrawal hot wallet, Binance hot wallet, all of the addresses are present. And this is what we're going to leverage while we're building our own Streams API application. So to create the stream, there are again two ways. You can do it via our SDK or via the portal itself. I'm going to be showing you both the ways on how to exactly create your stream to monitor the Binance wallet addresses. So to get started, what you can do is you can just open up your terminal, and let me just open that. Yep. And what you can do is you can just create a new folder. So I'm going to call it CEX whale activity tracker. Moralis. Okay. Okay. 1 second. Okay. Now that we're in this, we're just going to create an empty npm init repository. So you can just do that by doing npm init -y. Once you've done that, you'll basically see your npm repository here. And the next thing you can basically do is you can basically install the necessary dependencies for us. So .env in order to read all the URLs, etc., securely from the env file. So you can install that. Once you have installed that, you can basically open up your VS Code terminal. So I'm just going to open a new window. Let's open a folder, and so you've done that. You can basically open our yep folder. Once we have gotten that set, the next package that we would require is the Moralis SDK. So in order to install the Moralis SDK, you can just get to getting started and then select Node.js, and it'll tell you what are all the packages we require. So just copy this and let's get this installed. Once we see our package.json, you can see what are all the packages which are available in our thing. So we have installed.env successfully. Let's just wait for this to complete. Until then, if you've already created your account and set up your Moralis dashboard, you'll notice that this is what we require, the API key. And you also have a menu for streams. So if you're creating a stream through the admin portal, you can come here and create the stream through the UI, or you could also create it via the SDK. And we're going to go through both the ways for creating the streams as well. So, okay, now we have all the packages installed. And what we can do is we can just open up our VS Code and create a new JS script. I'm just going to call this run.js. And what we're going to do here is we're going to actually write the code for setting up our stream. So let's get started. So for this, what you've got to do is first let's import our env. So to import the env, you can just do require.env.config. And let's also create a .getignore file so that we do not commit our env. Once you've done that, let's create the .env file itself. Okay. And yep, now we can get started. So to import the Moralis SDK, you can basically refer to the documentation. And as you can see here, you can basically import the SDK by just doing this. Const Moralis equal to require Moralis.default. And that's what we're going to do. And you can also retrieve the EVM chain data type. So to do that, let's just copy this and this. Yep. So now we have imported Moralis and the EVM chain data type. So the next step is to basically create our function over here. So let's just call this function as run app. And here's where all our code is going to go in. So if you want to track, like, let's say the whale activity on for the centralized exchange wallet address, let's actually just try to understand that. So to do that, let's just open up our docs section, go back to the, okay, let's just open up our docs section, go back to the Web3 data API, then to the entity API, get entity by ID, and let's open up Binance here. Once you have done that, let's just take a Binance wallet address that's on mainnet, and we have Binance hot wallet right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to open Etherscan. We're going to take a look at this wallet address. So once you've opened up Etherscan, let's just search this wallet address, and you can see it basically says Binance 14, the token holdings, and you can basically see all the transactions going in. And what we're actually going to do is we want to get notified, or we want to get our alert sent whenever there is basically some whale activity happening on top of this wallet address. So Binance basically has a lot of wallet addresses, so we want to monitor all of them. And what do we want to monitor? We want to monitor the transactions, and you can basically see the transaction hash right here. By clicking on a transaction hash, you can see all the details about the transaction. And if you go here, you can actually see how much value is being sent as well. So let's go into the ERC20 transfers. So I'm going to go into token transfers. You can see all of the tokens that are being transferred. So this is what we're particularly interested in. We're going to track the token activity that's happening to all the Binance addresses, particularly when the amount is greater than a specific value. So that's what we're particularly interested in. So if you're building like a tracker for all of this, you can basically track the value that's being transferred, and based on that, you can get all the webhook, all the notifications sent to your webhook. So that's basically on the amount side. So if you click on a particular transaction, go through it, you'll basically see what all things are present here. So every transfer function basically emits an event, and that's what we're interested in. So whenever there's a transfer event happening, so you can actually find that out by going into logs, and you can basically see this is the transfer event that was just emitted by this function. And over here in this transfer event, it carries the from address, the to address, and the value. So the value field is the actual value that's being transferred, and that's what we're interested in. When the value is greater than a specific value, that's what we're going to track as well in terms of our platform. So basically, as you can see over here, the value represents how much value is being transferred to the Binance address, and you can basically see it right here. So we're going to track both to and from the Binance addresses. So any activity that concerns the Binance addresses when the value is greater than a specific value, that represents whale activity, and that's what we're interested in. So now you can head back to our code base and let's basically continue. So you would require the ERC20 ABI for the transfer function, transfer event. So that's what we're interested in. So let's just put ERC20 transfer ABI here, and you can basically obtain the ABI for your function through any simple code editor. So basically, if you're using Remix, you can just open up an ERC20 contract there. And when your Solidity smart contract is compiled, it generates the ABI in bytecode. And ABI represents the JSON friendly interface that specifies the method. So now we are going to require the ERC20 transfer ABI. So for the transfer event, I already have the ABI with me here. So I'm just going to paste that. So this is how the ABI for the transfer event looks like. As you can see over there, we have the from, to, and value. And this event is emitted whenever the transfer function is called. And we're going to actually care about this particular event. The next thing is to actually create a filter based on this. So our stream by nature will directly track all of the transfers, but we want to filter out specific transfers. So in order to filter out specific transfers, we want to filter out transfers where the value field is greater than a given value number. So for that, I'm just going to create a filter, and you can basically see how you can create a filter as well here. So if you want to understand more about filters, you can definitely check out the docs to actually understand that. If you head into the docs and go to Streams API, in tutorials, you have like a bunch of tutorials present that show you how you can create your own stream with the SDK and create filters. So here you have a filter where this represents AND, so you're tracking two values where the ERC20 address is from address is equal to this and the value is greater than this. For our use case, we're just interested in tracking the value greater than a specific number. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have a filter that's greater than, and value is basically greater than 1000. So you could make this any big number. So if you go with 10,000, etc., it's going to be tracking all of the value fields where it's greater than that specific number. So this is always customizable as well. So the next thing is to actually create the options for our ERC20 tracking. So if you look at what exactly is options, you can see it right here. You can see what are all the chains you want to monitor, the description of our particular stream, and the tag which is of our stream, the ABI, whether you want to include the contract logs, whether you want to track all the addresses or a specific set of addresses, all of that you can basically see right here. Along with that, you also have some advanced options, and over here is where you put in the topic and filter. So you want to put the topic as transfer topic 0, and the filter is basically this one. So every events are emitted to specific topics, and this is the specific topic which is identifying our event. So these both values also you would have to put in. And the webhook URL is the URL of your webhook where you want to receive the events that are happening to your particular activity smart contract that you're tracking. So in order to get a webhook, you can visit webhook.site, and when you visit webhook.site, it lets you get a free webhook over here. So what you can do is you can just come here, and once you come to this, you can see a unique webhook URL, and with this you can basically see it's waiting for the first request. So this is what you're interested in, and we're going to use this URL as well in our particular example. So I'm just going to paste my options over here as well. So you can see right here we have the options pasted, and the chains we have set it to Ethereum because we want to track the activity that's happening on Ethereum. Description, you can give it your own description. So let's give it a whale activity tracker. Binance, Ethereum, ETH, Binance ETH. You can give it a tag. We can just give it any tag you want. Let's keep it ERC20 transfers for now. And then ABI is basically this value. We're tracking all the transfer events. Then you have all include contract logs, and all addresses we're going to set to false because we want to track only specific wallet addresses. And apart from that, you have the advanced options, and then comes the webhook URL. So we have to create this field in our env. So within this, let's go back to our website, copy the webhook URL, and let's just paste this here. Okay, now that we have the webhook URL set and the options also set, the next step is to actually use our SDK to kickstart our application. So if you see it right here, you have moralis.streams.add, but before that, you have to actually start the SDK with the help of the API key. So for that, you can just do this. One second. Yep. So as you can see here, you have the process.env.moralis API key, which gives us one more environment variable. So let's put this here, and over here, you're going to paste your API key, which you obtain from the dashboard. So go to home and just copy your key. Once you've copied your key, you're almost set. And we have our Moralis SDK started here. Now to actually create the stream, you have to follow the moralis.add method, streams.add method. So this is the method that's going to create the stream, and it's going to create it with this options. And now what we're going to do is actually we are going to add an address to track for this particular stream. So for this, let's just basically add the just one address, and that address is going to be what we're interested in. So for this, let's just go with this particular address that we already have over here opened. So you can see Binance 14. I'm just going to copy this address, come back here, and we're just going to do this. So what's actually going to happen now is a stream is going to be created. And for the given stream, you're going to you're going to track this given wallet address. Before that, you would also have to get the ID from the stream, and for getting the ID from the stream, you have to just use this piece of code here. And now you're able to extract the ID from the stream. And that's basically it. So now you can just call the run app function, and we should be all set. Now we can actually test this out. So let's call run.js. All right, now you can see the code ran successfully. If you head back to our Moralis portal, head back to streams, you'll notice the stream that we just created is right here, CEX whale activity tracker, and that shows you the stream ID, the tag, the address we are tracking as well. So now if you go back to our webhook.site, you can see a test webhook was sent, and you have your first ERC20 transfer that is tracked over here. So you get the transaction hash with this. So we are going to just copy this transaction hash, and you're going to paste it here, and you can see the transaction from Binance 14. There was an interaction with Tether, and you basically see when the value is basically greater than the amount we've set, it sends the event to our webhook. Since we have basically set 1000 and the dollar amount is 15, since the Tether USDT has around 6 decimals, you can basically see the value is actually equal to this amount. So if you want to make a bigger value, you can basically just go back to our code and edit this value field to any given value you want. So if you set it to this value, then you're going to track transfers where it's actually greater than $15, etc. So that's basically on how you can track one given wallet address. So now if you want to track like all of Binance wallet addresses and get notifications or events sent to your webhook whenever there is activity happening on your particular wallet address, then let's basically write some custom code to do that. So I'm just going to remove the stream, turn off the stream, and delete it. And now what we can do is we can write some code in order to actually track all of Binance's wallet addresses. So for that, let's just create one more script that's going to be called fetch Binance addresses .js. And now that we have created this, let's also just import the envs same as before. So let's copy this right here. And we're going to make use of fetch API in order to just call our particular API in order to fetch the data. So I already have some code written here, which I'm going to paste. So you can basically see right here, let me just paste the entire thing. And you can basically see right here, this is going to fetch the entity data. You have the API URL present right here, and this is this particular API that we just saw, get entity by ID. So if you head to Web3 data API, entity API, get entities, and get entity by ID, this is the API we're interested in. You can basically copy the Node.js snippet from here as well, or the curl snippet from here as well. And you can see the URL contains slash entity slash the entity ID that you want to track in the path params which is present right here. So that's what we're doing over here as well. We have the entity ID present in the path params. So aside from that, you are going to make the API call here using fetch to this given URL. So we have deep index Moralis, and this is the entity ID. So we have our Moralis API key already here. So it's just going to take that for passing into the API. So we have the X API key here. And what we're doing is we're going to actually filter the addresses by a given chain. Since this is a function that accepts the chain parameter, if you look at the response over here, it will basically give us the chain as well with this. So I'm just going to run this again, and let's wait for this. Okay, so you can basically see the chain parameter here. It gives you the chain as well. We're going to create a filter based on the chain. So I've just added a field for the chain as well. So aside from that, you have the filtered addresses right here where we're filtering the addresses by the given chain. And the next thing is actually to extract all the addresses that we require and store it into a list. So we're just extracting all of that and storing it into a list. So, and this function is just returning that list. So to the next thing what we're going to do is we're just going to export this given function. So that we can use it in our code base right here. And now we have to import this back into our code base. So for that, I'm just going to import that by doing require. And over here, what we have to do is we just have to put in our path. So fetch Binance addresses. So now it's going to give us the ability to access this function. But before that, what we can do is let's just actually test this function out. So I'm just going to call this fetch entity data. And what we're going to do is we're going to fetch all the Binance addresses. So let's do console log as well. And let's actually call this code snippet. Okay, we would have to actually remove this. Oh, wait. And now let's call it again. Okay, you can basically see it right here. You have all of the filtered addresses here. So it's what it's done is it's actually iterated through the list of all the response data, and it's going to filter out all the Binance addresses that belong to ETH mainnet. So these are all the addresses that belong to ETH mainnet. So now let's use this actually within our run.js. And to do that, let's actually fetch all the Binance addresses. So we're just going to fetch that by calling the fetch entity data function right here, which is calling this one. And it's actually going to make an API call with these parameters, Binance and 0x1. So it's going to get all of that data. Once it's gotten all of that data, the next thing is it's actually calling the moralis.stream.add address and to say that you want to track these given addresses. And here you want to put in Binance addresses. So what you'll be able to do now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have all the 7 wallet addresses that belong to Binance. We're going to be able to create a stream that's going to track all of the 7 addresses on ETH mainnet for the Binance wallet. And if you set the value field to much bigger value as well, so you can essentially track how much ever whale activity you want by setting and manipulating the value fields. So now you can run this, and that's actually going to create this stream. So let's just do node run.js. Okay, we're having an issue right here. So I think our webhook URL has gotten filled, or let's just check that out. Okay, let's refresh this. Let's copy this and head back to our. Okay, we have 36 entries. I'm just going to delete all of these, and let's copy this again. So now once we've done that, let's go back to our env. You can see the webhook URL is present here. Just paste to confirm. and it says check your webhook URL. So where's our add method in the run.js? There we go. So you basically have the stream.add, you have the options. The webhook URL is being read from the env as well. So it's all set. So now we should try running it. Okay, we're having some issue while doing this. Let's actually try to understand why we're facing this issue. So for that, let's just delete all of the streams here to ensure that we're not having any issue with the webhook being used across multiple streams or something. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna head back to the webhook.site, copy the webhook URL from this. We already have our webhook URL set, and so this is what we are going to track. Let's just debug this quickly. So what I've basically done is I've just come back to the webhook.site and let's try maybe creating a new webhook URL because there seems to be an issue with that. So you can just click on create and you will get this new webhook URL. So now that we've got the new webhook URL, let's head back to the env and just change this over here because there seems to be an issue with this. And let's just delete all of the streams again to ensure that we don't have any stream that's conflicting with this. So I'm just going to delete this. Okay. So now let's actually, that we got a new webhook URL, let's go back to our code and let's try running this. And let's see what we get. Okay, now you can see it's basically successful and run.js went through successfully. And you can see we got a test webhook sent over here to our this thing. If you go back to the Moralis streams dashboard and refresh, you'll basically see your stream that we just created. So this is our stream that we just created with the SDK. And you can see it's tracking 7 wallet addresses. That is all of the filtered addresses. And now if you go back to our webhook, you can see all the events that are being streamed in real time. So you can basically see all the events which are coming and you can get the transaction hash, the from, to, value, the token symbol, token details, etc. So if you're building like a tracker or any sort of bot where you want to get notified whenever there's whale activity happening on any centralized exchange, you can directly leverage this particular webhook in order to you can directly leverage this particular stream which pushes data to your webhook in order to build that. So now we've gotten the transaction hash. You can again verify that by going into this. You can see this just happened 38 seconds ago. And whenever the transfer is greater than a specific value that we've set, we get the webhook and we get the event sent to our webhook and all of the details about that is present right here. So that's how you can track any given centralized exchange by just making use of streams and our entity API. So if you go back to the code base, you can see we have added all of the addresses. So you could use the same code in order to fetch the wallet addresses for any centralized exchange, Coinbase, Kraken, etc., and track all the wallet activity on that chain. So whenever there's like very big wallet activity happening, you'll be able to whenever there's any whale activity happening, you'll be able to just receive events straight to your webhook, which will let you like set up like a copy trading bot, etc. So that's on how you can create the whale activity tracker with the help of Moralis Streams API and the Entity API. So there is another way, like I was mentioning at the beginning, to create your stream. And now let's actually understand how you could do the same thing, but via the portal. So I'm just going to turn off the stream. And what we can do now is just click on create new stream. Now you're going to set up a stream based on the contract activity because this is what we're interested in. You have three options. Wallet activity tracks any wallet activity. So if you want to get notified whenever Vitalik moves some money or whenever some whale wallet basically is transferring, you will basically set up the wallet activity stream, which will track ERC20 transfers, contract interactions, everything. And then custom events is like when you're again tracking a custom event with custom event filters, etc. Contract activity is what we are all you can also do. So you can basically smart contract events for one or more addresses across all the chains. So if you go into custom event, you can basically select like contract events This is what we are interested in because we want to track the ERC20 transfer events. So let's actually just go back and select that. Create new stream, contract activity. Now over here, you're going to paste what are all the addresses you want to track. So we've already gotten this in this response. Let's just copy all of this and put this right here. Okay, so we need to just ensure that it's all filtered properly. So what I've done right now is actually I've just put in all the 7 wallet addresses separated by commas. So you can basically see all the addresses right here. Now coming to the chains we want to monitor, you can basically set the chain to ETH mainnet. Now let's hit continue. Now what are the contract events we want to track? Let's actually just track custom events. And over here we want to put the transfer ABI. So I'm just going to head back here and copy the transfer ABI itself. So once you've copied that, just come back here, paste it, and you can see this is the event that we want to track. Now within this, you can add filters. So we want to put a filter so that whenever the value is greater than a given value. So let's put in values greater than this given number. We're going to actually track that. Now let's click continue. Now you can just test your stream, which is optional. I'm just going to skip this. And for deploying, you need the webhook URL. So let's head back here and I'm going to actually just create a new webhook URL. So once that's created, you can copy this, head back, paste the webhook URL and continue. So now what we should get is we should actually get a test webhook response right here. And now when you hit save, that's when your stream is actually going to be created. So this is the one that we just created now. We've got the 7 addresses. And if you look here, you can get all the, okay, we should wait for some time because we're still getting some test responses, test events coming stream to this. So let's wait. Okay, we got our first one. So you can basically see right here, we got the transaction hash of this particular thing, and it gives you all the transaction details whenever there is the value being greater than a specific value. So that's how you can create a stream. And we have actually, what we have done now is we have created a stream by leveraging our entity API and the Moralis streams API. So that's how you can basically leverage the SDK to create your stream, and how you can leverage the entity API to fetch all the entity details as well. And there is another API called search entities. So if you're basically building like a search, you can also just use this search to track any given entity. So if you just put in Binance here, you're going to get all the entity details of Binance. You're going to get all the wallet addresses of Binance, everything. So whether it's multi-chain, the entity name, ID, all of that is basically received in the search entities endpoints. So that's how easy it is to basically leverage Moralis to build your own centralized exchange wallet activity tracker. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like and thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel so that you can be notified whenever there's a new video coming out. So thank you.